Today is day 13
Yes, sir.
of the 6th month,
Right.
according to the Most High's calendar.
Right.
And we are One West, Tampa Israelites. And, today's class is entitled,
Keep them all.
Keep them all.
All.
And that is the commandments.
Right.
But the first thing we want to do is open up with Matthew 26. Any questions?
You want me to use the mic or just?
I mean, it doesn't matter. You feel like it?
I'm gonna just do it. This is Matthew chapter 26, starting at verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman hath done, be told for a memorial of her.
Okay, so this was commanded by Christ that we should bring this out every time the gospel is preached wherever in the world. So that's what we're doing about this woman who did this good deed for Christ. You know what I mean? And yeah. So first off, I want to go to Malachi 2 and 7.
Can you read that?
Yes, sir.
This is Malachi chapter 2 and verse 7. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge.
Read it one more time for me.
For the priest's lips should keep knowledge.
Okay, so for the priest's lips shall keep knowledge. So first thing we got to understand is, who is the priest? The priest is the man giving the word. You know what I mean? Whether he be your pastor, your spiritual leader, your deacon. Anytime that he is speaking to you, he should be speaking knowledge. And what is knowledge? The oracles of God, the laws, the prophecies of his Bible. You know what I mean? Let me get a precept for that. Let me get 1 Peter 4 and 11.
All right. This is 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 11. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God.
There it is again. You know what I mean? And what are the oracles of God?
The law, statutes, and commandments.
The law, statutes, and commandments. So I wanted to get that out before we start with anything. So the class is about keeping the laws and the commandments. All of them. And what we have to understand when we talk about the laws, there was only one group of people around at the time to receive the laws. Well, Moses was only commanded to give it to one nation. Am I correct?
Correct.
Correct. And that people was the Israelites. So what I want to do is bring that out in Leviticus 1 and 1.
This is Leviticus chapter 1 and verse 1. And the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel and...
No, speak to the United States of America.
Speak unto the children of Israel...
No, speak unto the Vatican City.
Speak unto the children of Israel...
Read.
And say unto them, If any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd and of the flock.
Okay, so first of all, Israel was given the commandments. As stated in Leviticus 1 and 1, there was no other nation involved. There was nobody to receive them but the Israelites. That's who Moses was commanded to give them to. Let's get Deuteronomy 4 and 44 real quick, just to back that up real quick.
Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 44 says, And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel.
Okay, there it is again, the law that Moses set to the children of Israel. So the law was only given to the Israelites. And that's what we must keep in mind, first of all, Israel. So some of these other nations might not really understand when they see you, changing the way you live, changing the way you eat, because the law is what's given to them. It's not meant for them to understand. You see what I'm saying? Brother, real quick, can I get Romans 3 and 20?
All right. This is Romans chapter 3 and verse 20. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin.
So right there, Paul is stating, therefore, by the deed of the law shall no flesh be justified in his sight. In whose sight? The Most High sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. So, I mean, I know for me, I didn't know I was sinning until I came in to understanding of what the law was. You know what I mean? I don't know about everybody else. And that's, you really can't know you're sinning until you know what the law is. Matter of fact, let's get sin according to the Bible. Let's get 1 John 3 and 4.
All right. This is 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law.
So sin is transgression of the law. So what is transgression? That means to break, to not to keep. You know what I mean? So sin is transgression of the law. Real quick, I want to go to Proverbs 3 and 1.
All right. This is Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 1. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments.
So in order to forget something, you must have understanding of it, first of all, in order to forget something, correct? So he's saying, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep my commandments. And to some guys, they may say, well, how can you keep the commandments with your heart? You can't do that. Can you? I mean, can you keep them with your heart? I mean, literally. You can't do that. So what you got to do is get the understanding of what the heart is. And what we do by that is we go to Matthew 15 and 9. So we can understand what heart is according to the Bible.
All right. We're at St. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 9. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
No, excuse me. What did I? Verse 15.
Oh.
Matthew 15, verse 9.
Matthew 15 verse 9.
Hey, that's not it.
That's what you just said.
But yo, I got a preset for that the commandments was only given to Israel. I'm gonna bring it out and then I'll let you find yours.
Right.
This is for the law, statutes, and commandments was only given to Israel. I'm gonna read from Psalms 147 verse 19.
118, verse 18.
Verse 18, okay. Psalms 147 verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. Now the scripture he was again is Matthew 15 verse 18.
It's in Mark.
7:21.
7:21.
All right.
It's Mark 7:21.
Matthew or Mark?
Mark 7:21.
Mark 7. This is Mark chapter 7 and verse 21. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts.
Okay, read it one more time for me. I just caught up.
Mark chapter 7 and verse 21. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts.
So, right there, can you think with your heart? Do you think with your heart, brothers? No, you don't. So obviously it's talking about your mind. So going back to Proverbs 3:1, where it says, my son, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep thy commandments. That means that your mind should be keeping the commandments. You should be meditating on the laws and statutes and commandments, probably like most of the time throughout your day. Because, I mean, even with me, I'm always worried about when's the next holy day. I mean, even when I'm going out to eat, is it pork in there? You know what I mean? The law should always be on your mind, consistently, always. You should never forget about them. You know what I mean? And what you got? Okay, so let me get 1 John 3 and 22. 1 John 3 and 22.
This is 1 John chapter 3 and verse 22.
Yes, sir.
It says, and whatsoever we ask, we receive of him, because we keep his commandments.
Because we do what?
Because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight.
So, what's pleasing in the sight of the Most High? Keeping his commandments.
His commandments.
You feel what I'm saying? So, can you read that one more time?
All right. This is 1 John chapter 3 and verse 22. And whatsoever we ask, we receive of him, Because we keep his commandments.
So you can get whatever you ask for by keeping the laws and commandments of God, which are pleasing to him, according to the book of 1 John. Read on, brother.
Because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight.
In fact, keeping the laws is something not new. It is very common throughout the Old and New Testament. So, you know what I mean? Can I get Deuteronomy 8:1? If somebody out there want to give me Joshua 1:7?
Gotcha.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 1. All the commandments which I command thee this day,
Some of the commandments.
all the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers.
God. Bring that out there.
Joshua chapter 1 verse 7. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law.
Those some of the laws.
According to all the law,
Read.
which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest.
Okay, again, there it is again. The Bible is very consistent in the way it processes this information. God doesn't work through anybody that doesn't keep the laws and commandments, first of all. If you ain't keeping the laws, you ain't got, the Most High is not working through you. Now, some of you may say, well, Brother Hezekiah, I've accomplished a lot of things, you know what I mean, without striving to keep the laws. Well, let me be the first to tell you that was the devil that was helping you. Because the Most High does not help anybody that does not keep his laws and commandments. And the way I can prove that is, Satan has a form of power too.
Right.
Because if I can recall, when he took Christ to the mountain, he showed him the kingdoms. And he said, you can have all of this. You see what I'm saying? So how can Satan offer something that he doesn't have? Obviously, he has a form of power that he can offer to you. You see what I'm saying? So if you're not keeping the commandments and you're getting blessed, you may say, I finished college, I got a nice car, but that's not the Most High working through you. That's not the Most High. That's not him blessing you. Because it also said that the Most High does not hear the voices of sinners. You see what I'm saying? So if we know that sin is transgression of the law, if you're not following his laws, then that must be somewhere else you get that power from. Somewhere else you get that blessing from. You see what I'm saying? So with that being said, can I get 1 Kings 2 and 3, please? 1 Kings 2 and 3, just to reiterate what I was saying about the laws being a common theme in the Bible. All of the prophets, all the disciples, and apostles all kept the laws. You know what I mean?
This is 1 Kings chapter 2 and verse 3. And keep the charge of the Lord thy God.
And keep what?
And keep the charge of the Lord thy God. To walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself.
So, if I'm not mistaken, this is David. He's referring to the prophet Moses. See, everybody is referring to the laws. Let's see what Christ had to say about it in Matthew 19. Matthew 5 and 17.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 17. It says, think not that I am come to destroy the law.
Think not what?
Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets.
Read.
I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
But to fulfill. Christ came not to destroy the law, but to fulfill. Can you jump down to verse 19 real quick?
It's Matthew chapter 5 and verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, I want to break that down real quick. Because by doing something, that's one way of teaching. Right. You feel me? Your actions is one way of teaching. Right. So he's saying that if any man shall break one of these commandments and teach men to do so, you shall be considered least in the kingdom. So I heard a brother saying, I'll take that. I'll take the least in the kingdom. I said, brother, you'll take the least. You got to really understand that. Can you read that one more time, please? Verse 19. Verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments.
What's the least commandment? Fringes, beards.
Right.
You feel me? Some of us can't even keep the Sabbath days. You feel what I'm saying? So read on.
Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven.
That means you ain't gonna make it, brother. I hate to tell you. That means you're not gonna make it. You got a precept, brother?
Nah, I'm just saying, like, for someone to say, I'm gonna sit there, in their mind, they thinking the last one in. Nah, that don't mean you're gonna be the last one.
Right.
That means least, meaning you without.
You're not
getting
in.
in.
You're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. Let's see. Let me get Psalms 19 and 8. You got a precept, brother? Go ahead.
A precept for that one.
Yes, sir. Bring it up real quick.
Yeah, this is the precept for if you break the least, you won't make it in the kingdom. This is James chapter 2 and verse 10. It says, "For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all."
It is.
If you can do whatever you want to do, man. You could keep all the Sabbath days. You could do whatever you want to do, but if you get caught eating pork, you know what I mean? You're done for. You know what I'm saying? So if you you can keep all the laws, but if you break one, you break them all. You feel what I'm saying? You can live your life righteous, all up to that one point, and then you break that one law, you offended the whole law.
Right.
That's how serious it is.
Right.
That's how serious it is, brother. Good precept. Can I get Psalm 19 and 8, please?
All right. This is Psalms chapter 19 and verse 8. "The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes."
Oh, God. So, I got another precept for that. Can I get Romans 7 and 12?
This is Romans chapter 7 and verse 12. "Wherefore the law is holy."
The law is what?
The law is holy.
Holy.
And the commandment holy.
And the commandments are holy.
And just and good.
That's good. So the holy, we got to get an understanding of what holy is. Can we get Leviticus 20 and 26, I believe? Leviticus 20 and 26, so we can know what holy is. Because holy is nothing spooky or supernatural.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Leviticus 20 what?
Leviticus 20 and 26.
This is, I was going to say about the law being holy.
Right.
If the law is holy and you say that you're a holy person, but you're not keeping the law, you're lying.
Exactly.
You're not holy. The only way you can be holy is you got to keep the holy law.
Exactly.
That's the only way that makes you holy. But you said Leviticus 20 verse 23?
Let me make sure. 26.
26.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah, let's get it.
Hit that little.
It says, "And ye shall be holy unto me, for I the Lord am holy, and have served you from other people."
Read it again, brother.
Oh.
Read it again.
"And ye shall be holy unto me, for I the Lord am holy, and have severed you from other people,
God.
that ye should be mine."
God. So holy means severed. When you sever something, you ever heard something get severed? That means get cut off or separated. So holy means separated. So it says, let's go back to that precept where we were at. We was just at
Psalm 19:8.
Romans.
Romans.
We was in Romans.
All right, this
We
is
was in Romans 7 and 12.
Romans chapter 7, verse 12. "Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just and good."
And separate from what? Separate from the ways of the world. We supposed to be separate as Israelites. Matter of fact, let's get let me see. One thing I noticed, a lot of people, whether they be in the truth or not, they like to say, well, it's so many laws, it's over 600 of them. It's a lot of laws. How can we can't do that? How can we keep 600 laws? You know what I mean? Well, I was just saying, well,
I appreciate for that.
They just want to have fun. That's
right. They
That's
just
what
want
it
to have
is.
fun.
They want to have fun and
But
party.
here in Babylon, here in America, how many laws is it? You can't count them. How many laws do
Right,
Esau
they got
have?
so many statutes,
But you keep them all to the best of your abilities, right, brother?
Right.
Without trying.
They ain't gonna talk back on their laws, right? They're not gonna
So the
talk
Most
back
High
on
got
His
600 laws that we complain about that we can't keep, but you want to keep all the Most High laws. You got something?
Yeah.
You got something?
For that question, when they say there's 613 plus laws, how can I keep all the laws? Well, Paul gives us a good understanding. First, you got to have the Spirit. That's the first thing. You got to have the Spirit. But this is what it says. Romans 13 verse 8. It says, "Owe no man anything but to love one another. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. If there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law." That's the whole purpose of the law, is to love your neighbor as yourself.
And what we got to reiterate is neighbor doesn't mean Mr. Johnson across the street. It means inside your Israelite community, your brother. You see what I'm saying? Doesn't mean just your neighbor. You might have a Moabite or Ammonite live across the street. I don't mean love them as yourself. He's talking about the Israelite community. So with that being said, I wanted to, because let's see. Can we get let's get Ecclesiasticus 17 and 11.
All right. Before you get that, because I got to give a precept.
Well,
They're going to say, I got it out of context. Let's get Galatians 5 verse 14.
Galatians 5 and 14.
It's Galatians chapter 5 and verse 14.
Strain them out.
Galatians 5:14. For all, did it say some?
No.
Say how you do it. So how you do it again? For all, some, is it some?
Oh.
No. For all the law is fulfilled in one word. Even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
That's a precept, Kyle. Just reiterate what he's saying, because out of the mouth of two or more witnesses. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What you got a precept for that?
Sirach.
Let me get Sirach 17 and 11, so we can get an understanding, because we're falling off as Israelites. We don't know who we are. You see what I'm saying?
Right. All right. This is Sirach chapter 17, verse 11. Besides this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for inheritance. Oh, that's deep.
There it is. He gave us for inheritance. He gave us knowledge, which is the oracles of God and the laws of the life as our heritage. This is what makes us holy, Israel. This is what makes us separate from all the other nations, these laws. Because we already established that the laws were only given to Israel. It wasn't given to any other nation but Israel. This is what makes us separate, holy. Real quick, can I get Romans 6 and 1?
All right. Romans chapter 6 and verse 1.
Hold on, I want to follow you. Give me a second.
What? Romans chapter 6 and verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?
Okay, stop right there real quick. Because a lot of Christians like to use this chapter and like to talk about grace a lot. Grace, grace, grace. But like if you, let's just say like my brother brought out yesterday, if you had a light bill due, let's say you had a light bill due, and you don't have the money to pay for it, and you go up to them and you say, hey, well, I ain't gonna be able to give you the money, I need a couple more days. They're going to give you a small dispensation of time to get this payment in.
That's your grace period.
A grace period, right? A grace period. That doesn't. So, a grace period is not very long. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's what when I hear the word grace, I like to just think of short dispensation of time. You see what I'm saying? Can you read from the top?
Romans chapter 6 and verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?
Read.
God forbid.
God forbid. That means no. God forbid means no.
How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein?
Read.
Know ye not that so many of us, as were baptized into Jesus Christ, were baptized into his death? Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead.
Okay, stop right there, brother. I went too far, but my point was verse 2. God forbid. How shall we that are dead in sin live any longer therein? So if we're dead to sin, how can we live any longer therein? Can you drop down to verse 14, please?
Romans chapter 6, verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace.
So that's what they'll say. They will say, we're not under the law, we're under grace. The laws are done away with. I hear that a lot now. And there's a lot of Israelites that claiming that they're keeping the laws, but something as small as the Sabbath, we can't get it right. So, you know what I mean? That's why we're really keeping it simple right now. Can I get Romans 10:1 to tell you what this verse is talking about? Romans 10:1. I mean, not Romans, Hebrews, excuse me. Hebrews 10:1.
All right. This is Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 1. For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things.
Okay, pause right there. What was that good image of things to come? It was Christ. Read.
Oh, yeah. And not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offer year by year continually make the comers thereunto perfect.
Okay, so you can't, what Paul is stating is just by sacrificing the believers, they wasn't obtaining perfection. So something else had to happen. Can you continue to read on a little bit?
For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers once purged should have had no more conscience of sins.
Right.
But in those sacrifices there is a remembrance again made of sins every year.
I'm coming up on my point right now.
For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins.
Okay, stop right there. So, there it is. Christ was the image of things to come. But not the very image, excuse me. A sign of things to come, but not the very image. Right? So with that being said, and it says that the sins, the blood of bullocks and of all these animals could not give you perfection. You could not obtain perfection through any of these sacrifices. So Christ came so we wouldn't have to sacrifice anymore. He is the ultimate sacrifice. That is the law that Christ came to fulfill. The law of sacrifice. So that doesn't mean that the laws are done away with, because we just read in Matthew 5 and 17 that he came to fulfill, not to destroy. So with that being said, you got a precept?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
with that. This is Romans chapter 8 and verse 1. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus hath made me free from the law of sin and death. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh.
Right. So, if you think the laws are done away with, you must be saying that the Most High God, Son, His only begotten Son, that you can continue to live a life in rebellion against God. He sent His only begotten Son to die on the cross, so you can continue to live a life contrary to what this book says. That's blasphemous, if you ask me, and that's a devil. That's a devil.
Can I say something real quick? You have pastors today that are teaching that if you don't sin, you don't fall under the grace of Christ. So you have to sin, so you could fall under, right? You could fall under the blood. Who was it? Creflo Dollar?
Creflo Dollar said that.
He said the Big Ten. He calls it the Big Ten, so he dismisses it. He dismisses it by giving it a null and void title. A title that's an insignificant title. Oh, the Big Ten. It just...
Right. They do that a lot.
No, you need to sin, so you can fall under the grace, under the blood of Christ.
Wow.
That's
it.
it.
Man, listen.
You're cursed if you keep the law. Here's some crap like you're cursed if you keep the law.
Let's get that one to the pastor.
You're cursed if you try to keep the law.
Jeremiah.
That goes along right with what you're saying.
Right. We need to fall under the blood of Christ.
This is Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors.
Woe be unto the pastors. Woe means destruction. The word woe means destruction. Read.
Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord. Therefore thus saith the Lord God of Israel against the pastors that feed my people. Ye have scattered my flock, and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, saith the Lord.
So there it is right there. You got your judgment coming, Creflo. I'm trying to tell you, hey, this thing is serious. The Most High's not playing.
Right.
So I don't want to really jump off topic, but can I get 1 John 2 and 3?
All right. It's 1 John chapter 2 and verse 3. And hereby we do know that we know him if we keep his commandments.
Oh, we do know what?
And hereby we do know that we know him if we keep his commandments.
So you gotta know the most. Read on. Is there something more to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him.
There it is again. So Creflo, you're a liar. T.D. Jakes, you're a liar. And the truth is not in you. What's the truth? The oracles of this Bible. Matter of fact, let's get truth in 1 Psalms 119. No, Psalms 119 and 142. There it is. Psalms 119 and 142.
Oh yeah, that's it right there.
So we can get what truth is.
Yeah,
because it says,
yeah.
he that say that he knoweth
Right.
and keep not the commandment is a liar, and the truth is not in him.
Right.
So what is the truth?
Right. Psalms 119 and verse 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth.
And thy law is the truth. There it is again. The laws is the truth. So anything else besides the laws is a lie. You're living a lie, brother and sisters. A lie. Can I get 2 John verse 6?
All right. This is 2 John verse 6. And this is the love. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments.
And we do what?
That we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as ye have heard from the beginning, ye should walk in it.
So there it is again, man. The laws and commandments is not nothing new. You see us talking about the laws and preaching the laws. This is not anything new. The Most High always dealt with the men who were keeping the laws. You feel what I'm saying? The laws are nothing new to the Israelites. We just forgot who we were. We forgot who we were. Can I get that in Isaiah 1 and 3? We don't know who we are. We forgot.
That's it.
You see what I'm saying? Because when we read First Proverbs, it says, my son, forget not my law, but let thy heart keep thy commandments. So in order to forget something, we must have understanding of it, first of all, at one point in time. Right? So can I get that in first Isaiah 1 and 3, excuse me?
This is Prophet Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib.
Right.
But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider.
So, there's two dumb animals, an ox and an ass, which is a donkey. They know where their master's crib is. They know where their house is, but Israel, we do not know. We have forgotten. We have forgotten. And just because we're broke, we've forgotten who we were. Can I get Deuteronomy 28 and 15 real quick? Because this.
And I'm gonna pinch that in there right there. Yeah, I'm gonna hit him with the right here. It says Hosea. This is Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6.
Read. My
people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
You shall do what?
I will also reject thee.
So we already established what truth and knowledge is the commandments.
Right.
Most High say since we reject it, he's going to reject us. Let's reiterate that. Let's get Deuteronomy 28 and 15.
Deuteronomy 28 and 15.
Because it's all about keeping the laws.
Right.
If we can't do that, something simple as Sabbath days, the fourth commandment, you know what I mean?
I don't know, man. That doesn't seem so simple, bro.
And it's simple as 1, 2, 3. All you gotta do is count, literally. Literally, 1, 2, 3.
That's what I thought.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
Hearken means listen.
to observe to do all his commandments and
Some of his commandments.
to observe to do all his commandments.
No, just the ones that are convenient for us.
To observe to do all his commandments.
All his commandments. Read.
And his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee.
All these what?
All these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So this is why we're in the state that we're in, Israel. Because we did not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God to observe to do all his commandments that he commanded us.
Right.
That is why we're in the situation that we're in. Because some of these guys are saying they're repentant Israelites, and then they're struggling with some of the least sins. The least sins, like Christ said.
Right.
The less sins. Can I
Before you,
you got a precept? Come on, bring it out. Don't be bring it
This is Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. It says, and thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Now, that word that says discontinue from thine heritage, we know discontinue means thou shalt leave thy heritage.
Right.
Now I'm going to give you the precept, straight cut to what your heritage is. The one that you pulled. Sirach chapter 17, verse 11.
Right.
Besides this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for an heritage. So when the scripture says we discontinue from our heritage, what he's saying is we discontinue from our laws.
Right.
So the Most High made it in such a way where when we became enslaved to the Europeans or to the Deuteronomy 28:68, they were going to cause us to not understand what our laws are.
Absolutely.
So now that we're coming back to our laws and people aren't trying to keep the commandments, these are some wicked ass Israelites, man. This is the very thing that made us the kings of the world. Deuteronomy 4:6. This shall be your wisdom if you keep these statutes, judgments, and commandments. And these are the Israelites don't want to keep the commandments. Not understanding this is how we're the kings of the world. It's by the heritage. The commandments is what makes us the kings.
What makes us holy, separate.
We're not the kings because we're dark skinned. That's not why we're the king. I'm not the king because I have a wavy beard. That's not why I'm the king. I'm the king because I keep the law.
There you go.
And they trying to make us not keep it's crazy, man. These people bugging. Go ahead.
No, wait.
I'm with that.
People bugging.
Hey,
This is the reason why we the kings, man.
No, but wait. They gave us the Sabbath though, right?
Man, can I get
They didn't give us the Sabbath?
can I get Daniel's
Wait. Hey, I thought didn't they give us the Sabbath?
They gave us the Saturday. That's what they gave us. They gave us Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They gave us
They
Saturday.
gave us Friday night, Saturday night. That's not the Sabbath?
Nah.
It was last month. Well, it was like
It says Easter will change time.
it was last month.
Right.
So I want to get that they would think to change the time.
Right.
Because these people are tripping on this though. Because this is go ahead, bring it out.
This is Prophet Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
He who?
The last beast.
Okay, bring it out then.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Who, the saints of the Most High? The prophets,
the
children of Israel.
And think to change times and laws.
And think to change times and laws. So that's why they got us thinking that the Sabbath is every Saturday. They there are 365 days in the Gregorian calendar. That's an uneven number. We know that the Most High only deals with perfection. Well, that right there should have been a no-go right there. 365 days. And then you got like days like Easter. If you want to commemorate something, why does that day change every year? You ever notice that? It changes every year. That is the beast that is talked about again. Can I get that Psalms 83? Because they must not know about the crafty counsel.
This is Psalms chapter 83 and verse 1. Keep not thy silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God. Read.
Hold not thy peace. And be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
Hold on. Some people might not know what a tumult is. So you ever had seen a gathering of people? A whole bunch of records going out there. It's a whole bunch of them. They're going crazy. They're all chattering and it's
an angry dispute.
That's exactly what it is. It's a mob.
An angry dispute.
It says thy enemies. So that means not just one nation, thy enemies. It's a group
Group of idiots.
Well, you know, when you read that list, when you read the roster, it shows all these different nations.
Right.
So now, why are all these different nations screaming and they're having this what's it called?
A tumult.
A tumult. Why? Because each one of them have an idea of how to do it, right? Of how to keep us down. So this nation say, no, we should do it like this. This nation, no, we should do it like this. No. And this other nation, no.
Chaos.
But Esau's smarter than all of them, because this is his time now. So
Border wickedness.
he says, you know what? He can take a little bit, you know what I'm
He's
saying?
the first on the list, right?
Yes, sir.
First one.
Hey, read that. Bring it up. Stop.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Not just regular counsel, crafty
counsel.
To take crafty counsel, that means you got to be cunning and wise.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
Certain people don't know what's going on. There's a certain people, an individual that don't know what's going on when you're taking crafty counsel. Read, brother.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Thy hidden ones. That's us. That's the Israelites, because we did not know who we were. An ox knows his horn, and so is a donkey, but Israel do not know. Right. Read.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Come, let us cut them off from being a nation. That's why we got all these bywords: African Americans, Spanish, Haitian, Puerto Rican, Dominican.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So this is a conspiracy, Israel.
Come.
This is a conspiracy.
Come.
They want us not to be a nation. They're trying to cut us off.
Trying to cut us off. They're doing a good job too.
They're doing us cut. Man, finish reading the names. We got to get the names, bro. We got to get the names. We got to get the names.
Let's get the guilty party, man.
Let's get the names.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
One consent means they collectively, with one mind, all these nations. There's what, 19 nations in the Bible?
Yeah, about it.
So what that says? So before that, it says there was a great tumult.
Right.
And then what happened when you read after that great tumult?
They came with one mind. They collectively came together.
They say, you know what? This is what we're gonna do.
They agreed.
And who's in the top of that?
Read, brother.
They have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
Confederate against thee. Read.
The tabernacles of Edom.
So who did all the other nations agree with?
Edom.
They all agree with him. They all okay. Remember, now you got different nations, right? They all screaming, this is what we're gonna do. Let's get these niggas. No, I think we should do this. No, I think we should China. Right?
Right. You're right, though.
But Esau comes in and says, listen, man, this is what we're gonna do. And since he's working directly on the Satan, well, they all fall in line, right? They all fall in line. They all in one consent under who though?
Edom.
But you say, they said that all nations have drunken of the wrath of fornication of Babylon. What precept is that?
Revelation
18.
18. Yeah.
17, 18. What else?
I think it's 18. Revelation.
They all agreed. They came with one consent.
They had to agree. Esau wanted.
Revelation 18
Make sure
verse.
he drop a bomb on somebody on agree with him. Right? To do the fat of the earth, right? That's his.
Yes, sir.
18:3.
18 and 18. I'm gonna read 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils.
Hold on, pause. Right. It said is fallen. Is. That means it's happening.
Right.
Fallen. That is fallen. That means the process has already started, but it hasn't hit rock bottom yet.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So we're in that time right now. Babylon is falling right now as we speak, but hasn't hit rock bottom.
Right.
All right, read.
And is become the habitation of devils.
What's a habitation?
The house.
It's a natural environment for
Dwelling place.
a natural dwelling place for it becomes a habitation of what?
Devils.
It's a natural place for devils to roam, bro. Babylon.
What is Babylon? What we talking about? Babylon, spiritual what?
Spiritual Egypt, spiritual Babylon.
Which is where? What place?
It's America.
America.
It's America.
Who was America? The Edomites.
Babylon, America, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So read that from the top again.
Revelations 18 verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen. Is fallen and has become the
Okay, so it says it's fallen. So Babylon the Great, we know spiritually is the main pinpoint is America.
Right.
The main us is America.
Correct.
But what it says after that? Has what?
and become the habitation.
And what?
And become.
Has become. So what is it saying? That it was not that at first. It
Good
became
point,
the
bro.
habitation. So who was here before Esau came here? Israelites.
The Israelites, the northern kingdom.
Right? Northern Kingdom, Israelites. But
Yeah,
then when they
yeah,
got
yeah.
here,
Reubenites.
when they started doing the genocide, they started doing all the stuff they did, right? It became the habitation. It wasn't the habitation that was at first.
Right.
Wow.
It became that.
Right.
So they changed the environment.
They changed
wow.
it.
So-
You know, and
crackers
I have to, you know what? I have to refer back to the Matrix where Mr. Smith is talking to Neo,
Right.
and he says, "You know what? I'm trying to categorize the human race. And you know what? You guys is like a virus, because you go and you get in one place and you spread, you destroy it, and you move to another. And that's what Esau is. He's a damn virus.
Wow. So this place was naturally something else. Then they came and made it a habitat. It
It
became.
became a habitation.
become a habitation of
Hey,
devils.
when Christopher Columbus landed on this island, you think there was any homosexuals on this land? In this
Wow.
country?
Jesus, none of that shit.
No insane asylums.
No
none of that
polluted
crazy
water.
All right, man. All right, maybe Issachar was pulling a couple hearts out of people, right? But
right,
ain't nobody with butt buddies, right? I mean,
Oh
think-
yeah. Yeah, you want them
Right,
There
butt
was some,
buddies, though,
but
man.
now
They was
there's
doing
no
that
holds
Aztec
barred.
sacrifice,
The
yeah.
point is that right now it's no holds barred. Right now it's whatever. Everything goes.
Anything.
Everything goes here in America,
Right.
man. LGBT,
Whatever.
XY.
Whatever God says not to
Caitlyn
do,
Jenner,
America says okay. You ever notice that?
Jake boyfriend,
Yeah.
Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's sick, man.
What? I got
Oh
one.
man.
They
What about
promote it.
Obama?
They promote it.
What about Obama? Obama's wife is a man.
Yeah, Michael.
I don't know about
yeah,
that, but
that's
Michael.
Michael Obama.
Yeah, she.
I don't
I don't know, man.
I don't know, man.
But I know Obama. I know
man.
Obama's disgusting. Though.
I'm just saying. I heard a speech he was talking about.
Yeah, he
That's
said
enough.
There was a
Michael.
speech. He was like, "Yes, me and Michael."
Yeah,
I don't know who the hell Michael is because he got 2 daughters.
yeah,
I gotta catch
So
up.
I mean,
yeah.
I've been seeing that going around, but I don't
I'm
like to
just
get into
saying.
those type of conspiracies because that gets you going, and, you know.
Hey.
But
yeah,
like,
conspiracy, but he said Michael.
Ain't nothing wrong. You're right. He said it himself, right?
man, but
Yeah,
they had
Michael.
some muscular type arms though when they were showing
She
the
has
arms.
Adam's apple.
But you know,
Yeah.
females
They got
working
pictures
out
of her
too.
with a.
Why would he say Michael?
With
She got the
a pelvis bone.
I
See,
see
but-
a picture. She's wearing a blue skirt.
But we know these people are like really active,
You slipped and said Michael a couple times.
right?
Oh, was it just once?
Who the hell? He got 2 daughters. I understand if he had a son.
We know they actors though.
Maybe that's
we
a
know
difference,
that.
man.
Now.
Everybody, Angelina Jolie done adopted 2 kids. You know what I'm saying? And Brad Pitt. So, you know what I'm saying? Kids from Africa. So
Canaanites.
Obama
What's
could do the
what's
same
up?
thing. He
What's her pregnancy pictures?
I think them adopted kids, man. That's what I think it is.
Right.
And they whores. So,
Wow. Hey, let's finish Psalms. Let's finish
yeah,
that.
go ahead.
Revelation
Continue on with the word of the
so we
Lord,
can wrap it
man.
up.
Continue with the word of the Lord.
18 what?
We was on Revelation 18 and 2. Let's finish that up.
All
And then I
right.
got one more verse after that.
And it's become the habitation of devils,
Habitation of devils, a natural environment. Read.
and the hold of every foul spirit,
A hole of every foul spirit,
and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
and a cage for every unclean and hateful bird. What's an unclean and hateful bird?
I was just going to ask
I'm about to
that,
tell you what it is. A vulture,
Yeah.
a buzzard,
Vulture,
a
right?
raven,
Buzzard, right?
anything that eat of the flesh
Right.
and carcasses.
So
You know what I'm saying? A raven.
Right.
Buzzard, like you said.
Even a seagull, because
Right.
the seagulls are nasty too. This is a place.
Right.
It's a cage. They call it a cage, brother.
So that's talking about the spirits that's in the mirror, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The different spirits, right?
Spirits.
Wicked
Right.
as
The
No
all
wonder they
type of
picked the
spirits,
eagle
right.
to be their symbol. As swift as the
Yeah,
eagle
an
flies.
eagle's unclean.
Eagle eat carcasses too. It'll eat you probably. Who knows what eagle eat? But you know what I mean? It has become a cage for every foul. What?
Every
And-
and become a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Mm.
For all nations have drunk of the wine.
That's the point. All nations. Read it one more time.
For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
All nations. So that means all. Just like in Psalms 83, when they were in this tumult and they were disputing against each other. In Psalms 83,
Con.
they was disputing with each other at first, and they came to one consent.
Right.
Later on in Psalms 83, they came to one consent. And in Revelation's telling us that all nations have drunken of this wrath of fornication. Can you finish that off real tough?
A gumbo pot of wickedness.
Can you finish that off?
Yeah.
18?
Yeah. Revelation chapter 18,
Verse
verse 3 says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Read.
And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies."
And the merchants are waxed rich. That's why.
So
all
they
these
came.
Wow.
So they came on agreements with her.
Right.
You know, they done set up and got their little loans and grants and everything.
Right.
And selling they, you know what I'm saying?
They wax rich
Pig
from the
feet.
delicacies.
The Arabs sell their pig feet
Everybody
in the
eating
pouch.
off
You know what I'm
this,
saying?
bro. Everybody eating off
And
this
Israelites,
conspiracy, bro.
no, only
We the only one
Israelites
losing.
loving it. Israelites don't care. They just
We's the only ones
we've
losing
been
from
misused
this
and
deal.
abused, man.
We're the only one losing.
Brothers
Because
cleaning the
Canaanites
front of
eating-
the Arab store for 16-ounce beer,
Right.
one beer. You know what I'm saying?
And
And then they talk nasty to you, man.
Right, and you guys bring it. I want to bring it with this precept, Deuteronomy 32, verse 8. "When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel." So these people, Esau, Ishmael, they know that we are the Lord's portion.
Right.
We're the Lord's inheritance.
That's probably another reason why they was making that tomorrow.
Wait, but haven't you heard the invitations on YouTube of Ishmael women inviting us to come back to our land and to straighten everything out?
No,
Yeah,
It's online, yeah.
We
You
don't
have
want to
Ishmael.
spend
I've seen that.
Ishmael.
You have Ishmael. No, you have
Get back
Ishmael.
more.
You have Ishmael.
Talking about with the black hair,
Right.
seen it
She
standing
got the
in the
little
valley.
daughter with her.
Standing in the
No,
valley.
that's one of them.
That's one of them.
There's a couple
She's
of
an
them.
Israeli. Yeah, you're right.
She's an
I seen her.
Israeli. No, but there's one that she's Ishmael,
Right.
and they're asking for us to come back.
They know who we are.
Yeah.
It's written on their walls and stuff.
Yeah,
They
so
go inside their libraries.
I was saying that basically to say the people know who we are, and the real children of Israel don't even know who we are. They don't even consider.
Well, the ox,
Right. Isaiah 1 and 3. We don't even consider that we're the Most High's people. And they know who we are, and they're
We don't
saying
even care.
We don't even
Right,
care.
that's what it,
Don't
right.
mean nothing.
We don't even care.
Right,
man.
because we get out there and tell them, and they
Just
still be like,
continue
all right,
It don't
man.
mean nothing. It don't
crazy,
mean
man.
nothing to
It's
us.
crazy.
It does not mean nothing.
It's
We
the
gotta
curse.
hear Little Boozy's gonna be at so and so. Right? Little Boozy's gonna be at so and so.
I hear that all the time.
That's what we care about. No, we say, no, you special, you the greatest people. No, but what about the white man? What about the Chinese man? But what about you have no sense of self-respect of who we are. No sense of self-respect.
You don't
They're
remember.
real,
But if
man.
they say you hit the lotto, it ain't gonna be like, what about everybody else? You see that?
Right.
See, then it's straight me. You see
You don't
that?
worry about nothing.
See, then you ain't worrying about the next person. They tell you hit that ticket though.
You ain't lying,
That
bro.
Willy Wonka,
Sure,
right?
man.
That golden ticket. That Willy Wonka.
So,
Shit, dog. You know,
I'm telling you, man.
something else.
yeah,
man.
so it's a conspiracy.
Upside down, bro.
But in order to defeat all of this, the only thing we got to do is keep the commandments, come back to our heritage.
The commandment.
The right way, though. The right way.
The right way. 100%.
Right way.
All of the
You know what I'm
commandments.
saying?
All of them. Not just some of them. The correct way, like brother was saying. You see what I'm saying? Not the way Esau taught us.
Right.
Because you got Jewish people thinking they keeping the laws. The synagogue. The synagogue of Satan. They think they keep the Sabbath day too on a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, the Yehudis. Time Lord
You know what?
Yehudis.
Yeah.
You know what? This is off the rip. I'm just.
How can we be holy and separate? Read
Right.
right.
This
At
is
the same
Deuteronomy 4:6. It says, "Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding." Talking about the commandments. What I really believe, man. This is what I really believe, man. Is that there are people who know the laws of the scriptures and they're using it against us.
God.
They're literally using these
Esau
laws. The Esau know these laws, man. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, Esau doesn't have knowledge of something other than the scriptures. Because we know the Most High created the universe.
Right.
So any type of laws that Esau has that they're actually causing us to be in bondage, they're using our laws against us, bro.
Like the Sabbath.
That's why he
day,
says our
keeping
people
the
are
Sabbath
destroyed
away
for lack
from
of
us.
knowledge.
Like keeping the Sabbath away from us. They
Right.
know the laws. They know
They know the laws,
They
bro,
know the
and
laws.
they're keeping it against.
I
They're
was reading-
keeping it against us.
I don't
Bro.
mean to cut y'all, but I was reading a book about Christopher Columbus, and they were saying he was reading the book of Ezra, or I forgot the book of. Right, that's how he knew about that land. That's how he knew about this land, because he read the Bible. The white men know about the oracles of God. That is their job, to keep us from knowing
Right,
the tumult.
right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've read our history before we got a chance to.
They gotta understand. They gotta understand.
They don't understand all of it.
They know that this book is only for us. That's why they try to keep us from it.
Right.
You could be anything but be an Israelite. You know that now?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be Muslim.
More. All
You could be whatever you want to be.
5%.
But you would know. You preaching hate.
Right.
But y'all ain't stepped down on the Nation of Islam yet, though. You see what I'm saying?
You cause a division, brother.
Because it's not the truth. That's why y'all ain't stepped down on
You
them.
cause a division, brother.
Am I wrong in saying that I believe that the powers that be, which we know is Esau, according to the vision of Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel,
Right.
they are the ones who are holding back the truth from us. So when it says Malachi 2:7, for the priest shall withhold knowledge, the priest is in cahoots with Esau. It's 501c3. They teamed up with Esau to hold back the knowledge from us, man. That's why they don't want us to keep
You know
Sabbath
how
correct.
many pastors we've went to, and we told them, yo, you know we're Israelites, and they say, yeah. And then they go and keep on with their program. It don't make no difference.
Yeah, I heard of them. I heard about them. Yeah, I know about the Israelites. That's what they say.
Yeah,
You know,
I
oh,
know.
that's good, brother.
Yeah,
That's
Israel.
good,
Yeah,
brother.
Moses was black. Yeah, Jesus Christ is black. Oh, yeah. And they keep on with white man doctrine.
And go straight to get a pork sandwich there from down the street.
Right.
That's sad. That's
Sound
sad.
like my damn uncle, man.
So no, you're not wrong.
But you know, we're gonna wrap it up. I got one other verse, and I'm gonna end it with that. Ecclesiasticus 12:13. Let's hear the conclusion of the matter.
Wait, Ecclesiastes or Ecclesiasticus?
Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments.
Do what?
Fear God and keep his commandments.
So that is the conclusion of the matter. Fear
For-
God and keep His commandments.
For this is the whole duty of man.
But this is the whole duty of man.
And I'm glad you're ending it there. Because we're doing Ecclesiastes, Lord's Will, chapter 1 on Saturday.
We're gonna end it right there. Keep the commandments. That's what it's about. It was a common theme throughout the Bible. The Most High did not work through anybody that didn't keep the commandments. You can't find that. You can't find it. All the prophets kept them. Even Christ. All of the prophets kept them. You see what I'm saying? And then the minute that you broke them, he turned his hand against you, like Saul. You see what I'm saying? If you don't remember what happened to Saul, I don't really want to get in that, but you got to keep the commandments. That's what it's all about, brother. Come. So, shalom, grace, and peace. Our brother has.
What Saul said? He said, "Oh, praise the Lord, man. Yeah, I kept the Lord's commandments." And Saul was
Because he commanded.
Samuel was like, "Oh, word. Oh, yeah. What was that? Bleeding?"
Right.
Oh, no. But what I meant was,
He did it twice. He disobeyed the Christ twice. I mean, Most High twice. Because Most High
right,
told.
Christ. Yeah, he did it twice. Yeah.
Right.
He said, "No, you're right. No, I kept the best for sacrificing."
Right.
He said, "Oh, okay, but didn't I tell you to destroy every person?" Oh, yeah, no,
Agag was still there. Agag was still there.
Right, and that slip up, that's why we had the book Esther.
Mm.
Because of that slip up, we have the book Esther.
Right. And that's when they were slaughtered.
That's
By
what I'm saying.
with Mordecai and all those other brothers.
That's when finally the Benjamite did what he had to do.
So that kind of says up that that's not Amalek in the world in that in Israel today. Kinda.
Whoever's saying that the so-called Jews today is Amalek, I need a scripture, man.
Let's bring that out.
I need a
Let's
scripture.
ruffle some feathers with that. How
I need
is
scripture.
the so-called Jewish people or the Jewish people today? How are they Amalek? What scriptures do you
How are
have?
they from the tribe of Amalek?
What scriptures or history books that you can bring up?
No history book.
No history books.
Thank you, Priest Awiyah. And I'm on this because of Priest Awiyah.
Right. Nah. This is
No
true.
books. No history books. The only book is we need is what? The Bible, the Word of God.
Right.
Let's dissect it with the Word
So
of
like
God.
my brother say, if
Who in the Bible?
if it's not coming from the oracles of God, we don't want to hear it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I don't care what it says in
Because
this story.
I did my research myself on it, and I really couldn't find there's no trace of Amalek after the book of
After
Esther.
Esther.
You see what I'm saying? Because Saul was supposed to wipe them all out, but he left the horses and he left the king. But later on it said that Saul was killed by Amalek. So how was he killed if he wiped them all out?
Oh, that's
No.
good.
He was killed.
How was
But you know what? His sons escaped.
right?
That's how the seed
But-
kept going.
But if he were to wipe them all out, he was supposed to wipe them all out.
Everybody.
He
Right.
was.
Everybody. But he didn't.
He
He
let-
let people escape.
Exactly.
And because people escaped,
Exactly.
they lived, and to the time of Esther, they gave it. And then Mordecai came in, like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So
He's an Agagite.
You know.
That means he's from Amalek.
Yeah, I don't really know how that came out, but if you guys got anything that can prove that, which I don't think you do, bring it out. You know what I mean? We open. We open for questions.